Fortunately, I always carry a spare can. Alright. Rock and roll. Not a bad pattern. Woo. Some of that crud is from the bottom of the cylinders. It's a little bit more. Gotta go in and out a little faster. There we go, that's a better pattern. Looking for kind of like a diamond pattern in there. Alright, well, we are still cleaning parts, but this block is ready to go. We're going to pop out these old main bearings, put our new main bearings in, and we'll see how the crank feels. Ooh, pretty bearings. Alright guys, well it is the next day and my battery died on my camera and my GoPro never holds a charge, so I had to quit filming, but I didn't want to quit working on the engine. So I couldn't show you how I torqued the mains, but basically inners first, outers second. The inners, well, all of them go to 15 foot-pounds initially, and then the inner ones get the rotational torque put on them. I think 81 degrees for the inners and I think 50 degrees for the outers. And of course you work from the inside out. When I was done, I went ahead and loosened up just the mains and smacked the crank back and forth a couple times to try to square up the thrust surface on this bearing. And then I retorqued the mains. So it's all good. I also went ahead and installed 4 pistons. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and finish the last couple of pistons, and then we are going to, and then I will show you how I install the ring packs and the bearings, and we'll drop in a couple more for you. Okay, so this is a low buck rebuild, so I'm going to show you how I'm cleaning the pistons here. I'm using gunk parts cleaner, also known as carb cleaner, and I'm just soaking the pistons in here overnight. These are pretty nasty, so it's taking a while to get them clean. You can see all that crap on there. And then I'm just kind of cleaning off this extra stuff in here, working the ring grooves with the toothbrush, working the beams. But you can see all the varnish here. Can you guys see how the color changes from down here to right here? That carb cleaner works great. It just takes a little while to work, but yeah, it softens everything up. These wrist pins move freely now, whereas before they would get jammed on the edges. So much better. And when we're looking at these pistons, you can see a little wear here. Clean this off a little. But you can still feel the ridges a little bit. So the wear on these pistons is pretty negligible, despite all the crud that's in here. Oh, look how dirty that is. So those are soaking there, and then once they soak, then I move them over to a little pot of gasoline, and we do some more cleaning. I use an old piston ring that I kind of bent out of shape to get down in these grooves to scrape out all that carbon crud. And even after the parts cleaner, there is still quite a bit of crud in there. So I'm going to go ahead and finish scraping these out. You don't want to use sandpaper or screwdrivers or anything like that. These piston rings are the safest thing to use for these areas. Look at that stuff. And so I'm going to go back to the engine once I get these clean. How does that valve feel?
It feels tight.
Good, good, good.
It doesn't have to movement. This one was tight. There's one, and there's two.
we'll be replacing all the valve seals and putting LS6 springs in these heads.
Feels good.
Feels good? All right.
That's it.
What I was doing on the pistons is I was putting the gap here in the middle, and then two rings opposite sides on the wrist pin, and then on the top in the middle ring I'd put them 90 degrees to that and see how that goes.
So like this. This one here on top. I cannot do this today. No, I don't know.
Alright, so we'll get a new Moly Cleveite bearing and drop it in here.
What is that?
Oh, that's my Ultra Slick. Alright, and we're going to oil up the ring pack. Make sure that oil's all in there, nice and good. A little bit on the skirts. Try to wiggle them around, jiggle them. We don't want anything rubbing when this thing fires up. Good. And let's drop that guy in. Alright, so we'll load the ring compressor.
So I wasn't looking at the ring compressor.
You want to look at the ring compressor? And interesting fact on these LS engines from the factory. Let me turn this around a little bit. Get that crank throw out of the way. Okay. Is that all of these pistons are assembled exactly the same way. Which means on one side the rods face toward each other, on the other side the rods face away from each other. Which in my book is kind of weird, but that's the way GM did it, so it is what it is. Alright. Finally, there it is. Good. And another bearing in the shell here. And a little bit more lube. Good. And when you put these things on, there's really only one way they can go. If it looks funky, that's wrong. Put it so it looks right. And we'll just hit it. Just snug it up for now. Alright, next. Alright guys, well I took a little break from before because I wasn't happy with the way my rod bolts were feeling. I got a lot of stretch out of them. And if you're familiar with the way that metal fatigue occurs, I think we were in that area. So it's not wise to reuse rod bolts anyway, so I went ahead and ordered some Gen 2 rod bolts. They are in. So we're going to re-torque these to 15 foot-pounds and then 85 degrees, and then hopefully that'll be it. 85 degrees. Well, that's pretty tight compared to the other bolts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is tight. There you go. Yeah, that is snug. I guess that's good. There's my torque wrench. Okay. 85 degrees. All right, here we go. There we go. Nice. All right. Well, there are two of them. Torqued at 15 and then about 85 degrees rotation. And that felt so much more secure than the old Gen 3 rod bolts. Like I said, the old Gen 3 ones were they just weren't clamping down. You know, I wasn't getting any more clamping force as I tightened it. And these are snug, so I like that. Let's go ahead and do the other 6. Alright, so this is the moment all you guys have been waiting for. What camshaft are we using for this? So as you can see, we got a cam from Texas Speed, locally oriented right here in Texas, just north of us here, probably about an hour's drive away. And we went with their, boy, can you read all this thing here? It's the 25 TSPLL 216, 220, 112. What that means is we've got 216 degrees on the intake, 220 on the exhaust, and a 112 degree lobe separation angle. So this thing will give me just a slight idle, but really good low speed torque for moving a truck around. So, and it's designed to work with LS6 springs, which I already have. All right. All right.
It's a beauty.
Oh, so much better than the original cam. Looks nice. Alright, so we're going to roll this guy up a little bit and drop it in.
Maybe you should move your things.
Just put a little oil on there. You're dripping oil on the cardboard. That's why we have cardboard. Okay, hang on, just a little bit at a time here. And get this thing started. Get it nice and easy. Don't want to bang those cam journals. All right. Dame some gasolina. That's all right. That should take care of the rest of it. Okay. I'm also filling the cam journals, the bearings, to see how they feel. It feels good.
You should have a song push it real good.
Bum, 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 bum. All right. And I'm going to reach back here and put a little lube on the back bearing since I can reach it well. Alright, this is the tough one here.
You want me to hold it?
No, I can actually reach my hand around the back side to help wiggle it through. Nice and easy. All right, we's in there. And remember, don't look at your cam bearings. So for my cam retainer plate, I'm using this EngineTex CR9016. And you always want to replace this piece when you have your timing chain off. My hands are pretty oily, so I'm just going to lube that O-ring there. And it's just going to bolt on, just like that. These are actually countersunk. The other ones were countersunk. That could be an issue.
So those are the wrong ones?
These may be the wrong bolts.
So someone has been in this thing, or maybe we have the wrong bolts?
Oh, we have the wrong bolts.
Okay, so 4 short bolts. Okay.
Guys, these are supposed to be countersunk, but I believe you can get 2 plates. You can get the countersunk plate versus the flat plate. Maybe I just got the wrong plate. Let me look at the old one here.
No.
Alright, well, here is my original plate. As you can see, my original plate is not countersunk. So I actually got the wrong plate for this one, but it's not going to make any difference. What you don't want to do is put a flat plate in there with the countersunk bolts. That won't work, but we're still okay. I mean, so moral of the story is, if in doubt, get the plate with the countersunk bolts. This is the conversion set to make a head gasket, upper end kit complete, and it's CS9284. And it has the oil pan gasket here. That's important. And let's see here. I think it's this crazy one here. Yeah, that should be the one, because it has like this little oil passage seal like the front camshaft retainer plate has. But this is going to go on the back of the block. So I need this, and I need this big seal, and oh look, I got extra camshaft retaining plate. Yay! With the countersunk bolts and thread locker. I should put that in there.
Yes.
Okay.
This one, look, this thing is different. This one is different than that one.
No, some fit. This is just a tool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna swap that out and put that in there.
And he's so happy, like a little kid.
Yay! I could have saved myself 20 bucks on that plate. Oh well.
Maybe you can sell it. If somebody's interested in a plate, we have one extra one.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Alright, well I'm fixing to install this rear main seal in this plate. I was going to install it like this, so that the lips are facing inward toward the crank like you do all your seals. But this seal is marked this side out, so it actually goes in there backwards of what you would expect it to be. And I'm not going to try to second guess the Felpro designers for this, so I'm going to install it just as they tell me to.
Let's see, we wait a little bit.
It actually fit in there pretty easy. Kind of surprised. I want to put some silicone on there to make sure it doesn't leak. Well, I'm going to go ahead and install this rear plate. I'm not going to torque it down yet. I'm just going to get it in position so the camshaft doesn't move around so much. It just kind of slides up in there, and just have to kind of do your best to sneak the bolts in. Alright, it's 18 foot-pounds on those. Alright, so now we're going to find our top dead center mark. And it should be somewhere over here. There it is. Go straight up with that guy. I am replacing the timing chain with a Cloyce 9-4205. 150,000 miles will stretch out an old one, that's for sure. Alright, and let's see if we can just kind of eyeball this one here. Come on. Oh, we're going to drop in there. Get my cam's pushed back too far. There we go. We need to put one bolt in there. Alright, so down is there. Right there. Ha! That's what we need. And I'm going to go ahead and get this guy started again. Opposite of this guy. Because I need to get these other bolts in there, and I am going to Loctite them before I torque them. Alright, so I'm using the medium strength Loctite. Ooh, the new gel. So pretty. Alright, so what we're going to do with this oil pump, we're going to take this thing apart and we're going to modify it slightly for better oil flow. This is your pressure regulating spring there. I've already moved the cap for it. And we'll pop off these 10 mils. Okay, there we go, we got gears in there. We'll inspect this for wear. I'm not feeling much on the cover, that's good. Let's pop this out. Yeah, it's not pretty, but I don't really feel any wear. So what we're going to do, if you look inside, this is the inlet for the oil. If you look inside here and feel with your finger, it's not bad, but right up here there's a little bit of an edge, and there's a real sharp turn here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little sandpaper on a rotary, and if I can get some view here, and we're going to round this out here, and we're going to get rid of this sharp edge. That's going to encourage the oil flow into the pump. I cannot find my rotary tool anywhere. I may have left it at the office, so I want to try to do this with a Dremel, with a sanding drum. Let's see how this works. Alright, well, the Dremel tool worked pretty well there. Gotta be careful not to hit that O-ring surface on the inside, but yeah, we smooth that out quite a bit. I don't feel any restriction going into the pump now. Well, the short side radius isn't wonderful, but that's good enough. I mean, we're not trying to do head work here, just trying to improve the flow of our oil pump. So the gears are back in place. Let's drop the cover back on, and I'm gonna use a little Loctite to make sure these guys don't come back out. This is the pressure regulator spring for this oil pump. Okay. And we are going to shim it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little 5mm There you go. 5mm bolt nut. That's probably like a 10. Yeah, it feels like a 10 on the outside. And I'm going to just kind of trim off the corners here so it'll fit inside this cap. Alright, there we go. Got a little nut sitting inside there. So we're just going to reinstall. Alright. The oil pump bolts are bolted down torqued to 18 foot-pounds, whereas these guys go all the way to 26. Now, I don't know why those are only 18, because it's going into an iron block, but that's what they call for. Anyway, some people will put shims around their oil pump gears and try to shim it that way. I just tried that and I don't have enough wiggle room to get it perfect. So this is a factory oil pump. So I'm just going to leave it as is without doing it with shims. So if you don't like that, let me know. Look at my brand new LS7 lifters soaking. I'm going to load my brand new trays. These trays will wear. So it's always good to get new trays if you're doing a high mileage rebuild. Alright. Then these little guys are just going to drop right down in there. Come on, buddy. Right there. Like that. And a little bolt holds them down. And repeat. 3 more times. Alright, sure. Alright, and now the oil pickup. There we go. One thing that you may want to consider doing is there are 2 bolts for the oil pickup on the oil pump in here. The factory only uses 1 bolt hole to secure this oil pickup tube. Some people believe this thing can rock and allow air to get in if you just use 1 bolt, and so they make a kit where you can install a 2nd bolt on the other side. This is a street truck. I'm not drifting, I'm not going on a racetrack. I think it'll be fine as is.
We didn't work on bolts, you know, holding that thing. The bolts that we're holding.
Alright, well before I put the oil pan on, I'm just going to take a little dab of silicone and put it in these corners. I don't want any leaks. guys, the short block is now finished. So I am going to prep this thing for some primer and some paint. So we're going to be masking off all the machined surfaces that are left over. We'll be masking off the front and rear seals. And then we're going to shoot a coat of primer on here. But first, we need to degrease anywhere that the paint or the masking tape is going to go. Right. Yeah. Needs more work. Got the rear seal masked off, the front seal masked off, some of these sensor holes masked off, oil filter masked off. So I'm going to be trying this Duplicolor engine enamel primer on this, and then we'll be top coating it later on. So we'll see how this does, see if it's sandable. Let's just try it out, see what happens. Alright, well you saw those different parts I'm fixing to spray. Some are white epoxy primer, the other ones are gray high heat primer. So the reason I'm doing different colors is that I want to see how this Sublime Green from Tamco looks on the different substrates. That's a fancy name, substrate. Okay, so we're going to mix up just a little bit of the stuff and we're going to spray it down. We'll see how it looks. Tamco Sublime Green. Oh, buddy, man, this thing looks like it's kryptonite, man. This stuff should be in a superhero movie. Man. How am I ever going to spray this with all those swirls? That is insane. Look at that. All right. Well, let's see here. I don't want to do too much to start off with. Let's take it easy. Nice. I'll tell you, the camera does not do this justice. So we'll put a little activator in there. 1-to-1. There we go. Let's see how it feels. Yeah. Flows pretty good. I don't think I'll need to reduce that any. It feels pretty good. you never know when when you have cold weather. It's about 50 degrees outside right now, and this low reducer is probably going to be too much for it. Oh man, this is insane.
I'm going to start by turning the pressure way down, about 12 or 13 psi at the gun tip.
All right, man, I tell you, look at this engine. This thing is green. Now you guys can see it in all of its glory. Don't know if the video does this green justice, but man, that is beautiful. Okay. This green here is over a light gray primer. And this green here was put over a white primer. Again, dark gray for the valve covers. So I need to make a decision. What color for the truck? Should I use the light gray primer or the white primer? Oh, look. The jack. Scratch the paint. I'll have to touch that up. So this 6.0 is ready for some cylinder heads, so yeah. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Should I go with the gray primer or the white primer? Which green do you guys like more? Maybe neither. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you later.